The stars twinkled silently in the endless void of space. Among them, a colossal ship cast its dark shadow, its hull shimmering with an otherworldly metallic gleam. This was the Drachnid flagship, pride of the hunt, one of the most feared vessels in the known galaxy. Its crystalline sensors penetrated the darkness, all focused on a single point of light, a blue marble floating in space, third from its yellow star. Commander Ryu walked across the bridge, his footsteps echoing against the metal floor. His scaled armor caught the harsh light from above, creating patterns that danced across the walls. Every movement he made spoke of power and confidence, the result of belonging to a species that had never known defeat. The bridge crew worked in perfect silence, their claws tapping against holographic displays that filled the air with a soft blue glow. Data streams flowed continuously, feeding information about their next target, Earth. Lieutenant Jin stood at her station, her sharp features illuminated by the screens before her. Her claws moved with practiced precision as she analyzed the incoming data. Like all drachnids, her eyes held that predatory gleam, but there was also intelligence there. She was one of their finest tactical officers. "Supreme Hunter," she called out, her voice carrying across the bridge. "I have completed the initial survey of the prey world." She paused, double-checking her readings. It appears to be heavily industrialized. Their civilization has spread across their entire planet. Ryu moved closer, his tail swaying slightly as he walked. "Show me." The main screen came alive with images of Earth's cities, its orbital satellites, and its modest space stations. Jin's claws danced across her console, bringing up more detailed scans. "Unlike our previous harvests, they have developed rudimentary space capabilities," she continued. "They have primitive vessels orbiting their world, and they've even sent basic probes to nearby planets." Ryu's mandibles clicked together, a sound that his subordinates knew meant amusement. He had led hundreds of harvests across the galaxy, and in 10,000 years of drachnid expansion, no species had ever posed a real challenge. These humans would be no different. "Interesting," he said, studying the images. They had progressed further than most prey species before detection. But it makes no difference. Their technology is still centuries behind ours. He turned to address the entire bridge crew. "Prepare the invasion fleet. We'll start with their orbital defenses. It should provide some entertainment before the main harvest begins." What the drachnids failed to notice, hidden among the countless satellites orbiting Earth, were the highly sophisticated sensor arrays that humanity had quietly deployed over the past decade. These sensors had detected the drachnid ship the moment it entered the solar system. Deep within the Iron Mountain complex, carved into the heart of South Korea's Taebaek Mountains, General Park stood in the central command center. The room buzzed with controlled activity as military personnel from around the world coordinated their response to the threat. Massive screens covered the walls, displaying real-time data about the alien vessel. Park studied the incoming information, her face illuminated by the blue glow of the displays. Unlike the fear that the drachnids expected their presence to cause, her expression showed only grim determination. "They're positioning themselves for an attack," she said, addressing the international command staff present in the room. "Just as we predicted they would." One of her advisors spoke up. "Should we reveal that we've detected them? Perhaps try to communicate." Park shook her head, a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "No, let them think they have the element of surprise. Humanity has been preparing for this moment for years." She walked to the central tactical display, where a holographic representation of Earth's defense grid floated in the air. Thousands of points of light represented their hidden weapons platforms, stealth satellites, and automated defense systems, all invisible to the drachnid sensors. "They think they're the hunters," Park said quietly, watching the alien ship's position update in real time. "They have no idea that we've been watching them for months, studying their movements, their technology, their tactics." She paused, her eyes hardening. "They think we're prey. Let's show them how wrong they are." Around the world, military bases went on high alert. Hidden bunkers powered up their systems. Orbital weapons platforms silently tracked the alien vessel, but on the surface, everything appeared normal, exactly as humanity wanted it to appear. In space, Commander Ryu continued watching the blue planet, his mandate clicking in anticipation of an easy conquest. The pride of the hunt loomed in space, its weapons primed and ready. But for the first time in the history of the Drachnid Empire, the hunters were about to become the hunted. The red planet Mars hung silently in space, its rusty surface reflecting the distant sunlight. To most observers, the space around it appeared empty. But that was exactly what humanity wanted their enemies to think. Captain Lee stood on the bridge of the UES Dauntless, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the tactical display. The ship, humanity's newest defender, had been hiding in Mars' shadow for the past 3 days. Its advanced stealth systems, developed through years of preparation, made it completely invisible to conventional sensors. "Signal from Earth Command," reported Communications Officer Han. "The Drachnid fleet has begun its advance. 50 ships moving in attack formation." Lee nodded, her expression calm despite the gravity of the situation. This would be humanity's first real space battle, but they had trained for this moment countless times. Every crew member knew their role perfectly. "All hands to battle stations," she ordered. The command echoed through the ship, followed by the subtle change in lighting that indicated combat readiness. "Status of the Ghostwing squadrons. All squadrons report ready, Captain." Ensign Song answered from her tactical station. Her fingers flew across the holographic controls, bringing up detailed status reports. "Pilots are in their cockpits, waiting for launch orders." The Ghostwings were humanity's secret weapon, experimental stealth fighters that incorporated technology reverse-engineered from studying Drachnid sensor emissions. They were invisible not just to regular scanners, but to the crystalline sensor arrays that the aliens relied upon. The bridge crew watched as the enemy fleet appeared on their long-range sensors. The Drachnid ships were massive, each one dwarfing the Dauntless. They moved with predatory grace, their hulls gleaming with that distinctive metallic sheen that marked their alien origin. "Multiple hostile contacts, approaching at high velocity," Song announced, her voice steady despite the tension. "They're moving exactly as intelligence predicted. They think they're launching a surprise attack." Lee allowed herself a small smile. The Drachnids had fallen perfectly into their trap, believing Earth's defensive grid was centered around their home planet. They had no idea that humanity had spent years building a multilayered defense network that extended throughout the solar system. "Contact the other ships," Lee ordered. "Tell them to maintain position and wait for my signal." Hidden around Mars were 30 other Earth vessels, each one equipped with the same stealth technology as the Dauntless. The Drachnid fleet drew closer, their formation spreading out to surround Mars. They were clearly expecting to find nothing more than a few observation satellites and perhaps some primitive research stations. Their arrogance would be their downfall. "Enemy fleet is entering optimal engagement range," Song reported. "Their sensors are active, but they're not detecting us." Lee straightened her uniform and took a deep breath. The next few minutes would determine whether humanity's preparations had been enough. "Launch the Ghostwing squadrons," she commanded. "All ships, prepare to engage on my mark." Throughout the fleet, launch bays opened silently. The Ghostwings, sleek and deadly, slipped out into space. Their black hulls, designed to absorb rather than reflect energy, made them nearly invisible even to the naked eye. Each fighter carried weapons specifically designed to target the weaknesses that Earth's scientists had identified in Drachnid ship design. From his flagship, the Drachnid commander watched Mars grow larger in his viewing screen. His mandibles clicked in anticipation of an easy victory. "Report," he demanded. "No signs of significant defenses, Supreme Hunter," his sensor operator responded. "We detect only primitive satellites and a small research station on the surface." The commander was about to order his fleet to begin their attack run when something strange happened. His tactical display suddenly lit up with hundreds of new contacts, appearing out of nowhere all around his ships. "Impossible," the sensor operator screamed. Where did they? Before he could finish, the first wave of ghost wings opened fire. Specially designed quantum disruptors struck the Drachnid ships, bypassing their shields completely. The aliens had never encountered weapons like these, weapons created specifically to counter their technology. Captain Lee watched as the battle unfolded. The Drachnid ships, caught completely by surprise, tried to respond but found themselves under attack from all directions. The ghost wings moved with incredible speed and precision, striking critical systems and disappearing before the aliens could target them. All ships, engage, Lee ordered. The hidden Earth fleet revealed itself, emerging from their stealth positions to join the attack. The Dauntless moved forward, its main guns targeting the largest Drachnid vessel. The space around Mars erupted into chaos. The Drachnids, for the first time in their history, found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned. Their powerful weapons were useless against targets they couldn't properly track, and their supposedly impenetrable shields offered no protection against humanity's specialized weapons. As Lee watched her crews coordinate their attacks with practiced precision, she thought about all the years of preparation that had led to this moment. The Drachnids had expected to find prey, but instead, they had found equals, perhaps even superiors, in the art of warfare. The battle for Mars had begun, and with it, the Drachnids were about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity. The command center aboard Earth's orbital defense station, Aegis 1, hummed with intense activity. Holographic displays filled the air, showing the positions of both human and Drachnid ships across the solar system. Admiral Han stood at the center of it all, her experienced eyes tracking every movement of the battle. The last 48 hours had changed everything. After their devastating defeat at Mars, the Drachnids had pulled their remaining ships back, regrouping near Jupiter's orbit. They had lost nearly half their fleet in that first engagement, something unprecedented in their thousands of years of conquest. Status report, Han commanded, her voice carrying across the command center. Commander Kim looked up from his tactical station, his face illuminated by the blue glow of his screens. The Drachnid fleet is still maintaining their defensive formation near Jupiter's moon Europa. Our long-range sensors show they're attempting repairs, but they seem confused. Han understood that confusion. The Drachnids had never faced a species that fought back effectively. Their entire military doctrine was based on overwhelming force and terror, tactics that had always worked before. "Show me their formation," she ordered. The main display shifted, zooming in on the alien fleet. The massive Drachnid vessels were clustered together, their crystalline sensors scanning constantly for threats. Their once perfect attack formations had devolved into a defensive circle. "They're retreating," Kim reported, watching as several of the massive vessels adjusted their positions. "They don't understand why their superior size isn't giving them the advantage they're used to." Han nodded slowly, studying the enemy movements. "They evolved as solitary hunters," she explained to her staff. "We evolved working together. Their ships are built like apex predators, big, powerful, and alone. Ours are built like wolf packs." She turned to her communications officer. "Signal all fleet commanders. It's time for Phase 3. Throughout the solar system, Earth's ships began to move. Unlike the bulky Drachnid vessels, human ships were smaller, more agile, and designed to work in perfect coordination. They moved in groups of 5, each ship complementing the other's strengths and covering their weaknesses. The Ghostwing squadrons led the advance, their stealth systems still confounding Drachnid sensors. Behind them came the main battle groups, spreading out in a complex pattern that looked chaotic to the aliens, but was actually a carefully choreographed dance of death. "Enemy fleet is responding," Kim announced. "They're trying to form up into attack positions, but they're not coordinating effectively." Han watched as the Drachnid ships struggled to work together. Each captain was trying to fight independently, just as their species had evolved to hunt. But in space combat, that was a fatal weakness. "Launch the drone swarms," Han ordered. Thousands of small, automated craft emerged from Earth's ships, filling space with targets that the Drachnids couldn't ignore. Their predatory instincts forced them to try to track every potential threat, overwhelming their sensor systems. The human fleet struck from multiple directions simultaneously, ships working in perfect synchronization, their attacks coordinated down to the second. Where one ship created an opening, another would strike. When one needed to recharge shields, another would move to protect it. "Look at them," Kim said, shaking his head as another Drachnid vessel fell to the coordinated assault. "They keep trying to engage one-on-one. They don't understand pack tactics at all." Han stepped closer to the tactical display. Their entire civilization is built around being the strongest individual predator. They never needed to learn cooperation. But humanity. She paused, watching as her ships executed another perfect combination attack. Humanity had to learn to work together to survive. The battle continued to unfold across the vast expanse of space. The Drachnid ships, despite their superior size and individual power, found themselves being picked apart by the smaller human vessels. Every time they tried to concentrate their forces, the human fleet would split up, attacking from new directions, forcing them to divide their attention. "Admiral," Kim called out suddenly, "we're detecting energy spikes from multiple Drachnid vessels. They're preparing to jump to faster than light speed." The command center fell silent as everyone watched the tactical display. One by one, the massive alien ships began to disappear, fleeing the solar system. The mighty hunters, for the first time in their history, were running from their prey. "Should we pursue?" Kim asked, his fingers hovering over his console. Han shook her head. "No. Let them run. Let them take the message back to their empire." She turned to address the entire command center. "Today, the hunters learned what it feels like to be hunted. But more importantly, they learned that there are powers in this universe greater than individual strength." As the last Drachnid ship disappeared from their sensors, Han allowed herself a small smile. The tables hadn't just turned, they had been completely flipped. Humanity had proven that cooperation, strategy, and adaptability could overcome raw power and aggression. The hunters had become the hunted, and the galaxy would never be the same. The massive Drachnid warship drifted silently through the asteroid field, its engines powered down in an attempt to hide. Inside the darkened bridge, the alien crew kept their voices low, as if afraid that even sound might give away their position. They had good reason to be afraid. Colonel Yoon watched the thermal imaging display aboard her stealth insertion ship, the Shadow Strike. The Drachnid vessel's heat signature stood out clearly against the cold of space, despite their attempts at concealment. Her team of Special Forces operators waited in full combat gear, each one a veteran of dozens of boarding actions. "Target confirmed," whispered Sergeant Moon, checking the readings on his tactical pad. "It's the Bloodfang, one of their new heavy cruisers." He adjusted his plasma rifle, the weapon specifically designed to work in the confined spaces of ship-to-ship combat. Yoon nodded, studying the ship's layout on her display. "They're getting better at hiding," she observed, "but not good enough. Prepare for boarding operation." The Shadow Strike moved silently through space, its advanced stealth systems making it virtually invisible. Inside the ship's hold, 20 Special Forces operators checked their gear one final time. Their armor was lightweight but strong, designed for maximum mobility in zero-gravity conditions. "Remember," Yoon addressed her team, "they're stronger than us in close combat, but they're predictable. Use their size against them. Work in pairs, maintain communications, and stick to the plan." The boarding operation began with precision that came from months of experience. Magnetic grapples attached to the Drachnid ship's hull, completely silent in the vacuum of space. Cutting lasers made quick work of the outer plating, creating entry points at strategic locations. Inside the Bloodfang, the first warning the Drachnid crew had was the slight vibration of the hull breach. By then, it was already too late. Yoon led her team through the dark corridors, their movements swift and silent. The Drachnids, evolved as ambush predators, had designed their ships with high ceilings and wide passages, perfect for their large frames, but also perfect for human tactical maneuvers. Contact, Section 3, came a whispered report over the comm. The sounds of brief plasma fire followed, then silence. 2 hostiles eliminated. No alerts triggered. The team moved deeper into the ship, using their smaller size and superior agility to their advantage. When they encountered Drachnid crew members, they struck fast and hard, never giving the aliens a chance to use their superior strength. "They're starting to fear us," Yoon observed, watching through her tactical visor as a group of Drachnids took defensive positions ahead. Unlike the aggressive stances they'd shown in earlier battles, these aliens were huddled together, looking nervously down every corridor. They've never experienced being hunted before. Sergeant Moon nodded, checking his plasma rifle's charge. "They thought being the biggest and strongest was enough," he whispered. "They never learned what we've known since our ancestors first picked up spears. Patience, strategy, and teamwork beat raw power every time." The team split into smaller groups, using the ship's own ventilation systems and maintenance tunnels to outflank the defenders. The Drachnids, unused to thinking in 3 dimensions while inside their ships, never thought to look up or down for threats. "Bridge secured," reported Team 2 after a short burst of combat. "Engineering is the last stronghold." Yoon led the final assault herself. The engineering section had been barricaded, but the Drachnids had made a crucial mistake. They'd blocked the main entrances but forgotten about the maintenance access points. Another blind spot in their predatory thinking. The battle for engineering was brief but intense. The human teams struck from multiple directions simultaneously, using sonic disruptors to disorient the Drachnids before moving in with plasma weapons. The aliens, despite their natural armor and strength, couldn't cope with the coordinated assault. "Ship is secure," Yoon announced 20 minutes later. "Casualties. 2 minor injuries," Moon reported. "Nothing serious." The new tactics worked perfectly. Yoon walked to the main engineering console, where her tech specialists were already beginning to download the ship's data core. Around her, other teams were securing prisoners and setting up defensive positions in case of any last-minute resistance. "Send the signal to Fleet Command," she ordered. "Another one for the collection." The capture of the Bloodfang marked the 50th successful boarding operation under Yoon's command. Each seized ship provided valuable intelligence and technology, but more importantly, they sent a message to the Drachnid Empire. Their ships, once symbols of their power and dominance, had become death traps. As her teams began the process of securing their prize for the journey back to Earth, Yoon reflected on how far they'd come. The Drachnids had started this war believing they were invincible hunters. Now they jumped at shadows, afraid to travel alone, paranoid about every asteroid or debris field that might hide a human strike team. The predators had become prey, and they didn't know how to handle it. Humanity, on the other hand, had been perfectly prepared for this role. After all, they had spent their entire evolutionary history learning how to hunt things bigger and stronger than themselves. The grand meeting hall of the Interstellar Diplomatic Center on Luna was filled to capacity. Representatives from 12 different alien species sat around the massive circular table, their diverse forms illuminated by the soft blue lighting. Dr. Nam stood at the center, her diplomatic uniform crisp and neat as she faced the gathered delegates. Through the hall's transparent dome, Earth hung like a blue jewel in the black sky, a constant reminder of what they were fighting to protect. But today's meeting wasn't just about Earth anymore. "Look around this room," Nam began, her voice clear and steady. "Each of you represents a civilization that has suffered under Drachnid dominance. For generations, they've hunted us, harvested us, treated us like nothing more than prey species to be culled at their convenience." The Viridian delegate, a being of crystalline structure, chimed softly, their way of showing agreement. Next to them, the insectoid Charis representative clicked their mandibles, their compound eyes reflecting the room's light. "But something has changed," Nam continued, activating the holographic display in the center of the room. Images appeared showing recent battles, human ships engaging Drachnid vessels, successful boarding operations. For the first time in their history, the Drachnids are losing. The delegates watched intently as the footage played. Many of them had never dared to fight back against their tormentors, believing resistance was futile. But humanity had proved otherwise. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore," Nam explained, her gaze meeting each delegate in turn. "We're fighting for every species that's been treated like prey, every civilization they've terrorized, every world they've harvested." The Myrthan representative, a small furry being with large eyes, stood up. "Your species has achieved what we thought impossible," they said through their translator. "But why should we risk joining you? The Drachnids will destroy any world that allies with Earth." Nam smiled. "Because together, we're stronger than they are. Humanity has already proved that their greatest weakness is their inability to understand cooperation. They hunt alone. We can fight together." She gestured to the technical advisors waiting at the side of the room. They stepped forward, carrying data crystals containing Earth's latest military and defensive technologies. "We offer these freely to any species that joins our alliance," Nam explained. "Our stealth technology, our tactical systems, our weapons designs, everything we've developed to fight the Drachnids. But more importantly, we offer our experience and our commitment to mutual defense." The hall erupted in discussion as the delegates conferred among themselves. The Karis representative raised a limb for attention. "Your weapons and technology are impressive, but the Drachnids still outnumber us all combined." "Numbers aren't everything," Nam countered. "Each of your species has developed unique technologies and abilities while hiding from the Drachnids. Together, combining our knowledge and resources, we can create defenses they've never encountered." Over the next few hours, the alliance began to take shape. Species that had hidden from the Drachnids for generations now saw hope in humanity's example. The Viridians offered their advanced crystal computing technology. The Karis shared their expertise in biotechnology. The Myrthans revealed their sophisticated sensor systems, developed over centuries of avoiding detection. "This is unprecedented," observed Nam's assistant as they watched the delegates eagerly sharing information. "No one's ever united so many species against the Drachnids before." Nam nodded, "Because no one ever showed them it was possible. The Drachnids kept us isolated, made us believe we were alone and helpless. But they never understood the power of cooperation." Within days, the Alliance's combined technological capabilities had advanced beyond what any single species could have achieved alone. Ships were being retrofitted with hybrid systems that incorporated the best aspects of each civilization's developments. The Drachnids, monitoring the situation from their territory, noticed the increased activity but couldn't understand its significance. Their society, based on solitary hunting and individual strength, had no framework for comprehending the power of true cooperation. "We estimate the Alliance will be ready for its first joint operation within 2 standard months," reported the military advisor to Nam. "The Drachnids won't know what hit them." Nam looked out at Earth again, thinking about how far they'd come. What had started as humanity's desperate fight for survival had evolved into something much greater, a revolution that would reshape the galaxy's power structure forever. The predators had always ruled through fear and strength. But now, the prey species were uniting, and together they would prove that cooperation and mutual support were far more powerful than any natural weapons or biological advantages. The age of the solitary hunter was coming to an end. The research and development facility beneath Mount Fuji buzzed with activity. In the main laboratory, Chief Engineer Choi moved between workstations, checking progress on dozens of projects simultaneously. Holographic displays filled the air, showing complex technical diagrams and real-time test results. "They've upgraded their armor again," one of the scientists reported, pointing to scan data from the latest battle. "The new crystalline matrix is 20% stronger than previous versions." Choi simply smiled, walking over to examine the data. "Good. That means they're still thinking like predators, focusing on making their natural defenses stronger. He pulled up another display, showing the blueprints for humanity's newest weapon system. While they're doing that, we're about to change the rules of the game completely. The laboratory's central testing chamber hummed to life. Inside, a section of Drachnid hull armor, salvaged from a captured ship, floated in a containment field. Scientists and engineers gathered around the observation windows, eager to see the test. "Initiating nanite deployment," announced the test coordinator. A fine gray mist sprayed into the chamber, seemingly harmless. But under microscopic examination, that mist consisted of billions of tiny machines, each one smaller than a human cell. The nanites swarmed over the Drachnid armor. Within minutes, the seemingly impenetrable material began to lose its crystalline structure, turning dull and brittle. "They rely on their natural weapons. We improve ours," Choi explained to the observing Alliance representatives. "Every time they adapt, we're already 3 steps ahead, developing countermeasures they haven't even imagined." One of the Viridian observers chimed in curiosity. "But surely they will develop defenses against these nanites." "Of course they will," Choi agreed. "But by then, we'll have something new ready. The key isn't just the technology, it's the speed of innovation. The Drachnids take generations to evolve new natural weapons. We can develop new artificial ones in weeks." In another section of the facility, engineers were putting the finishing touches on the new quantum shield technology. Unlike traditional energy shields, these operated on a subatomic level, making them virtually impenetrable to conventional weapons. "The preliminary field tests are complete," reported Dr. Park, the project lead. "The shields can withstand direct hits from Drachnid plasma cannons without significant power drain." Choi nodded approvingly. "How long until we can begin fleet-wide installations?" "Production lines are already set up. We can upgrade 20 ships per day." The pace of technological advancement had become humanity's greatest weapon. While the Drachnids struggled to understand each new human innovation, Earth's scientists were already developing the next 3. The real breakthrough came 2 weeks later. In the facility's high-security testing range, Choi unveiled the project he'd been personally overseeing, the advanced nanite swarms. Previous versions could only affect inorganic materials, he explained to the assembled military leaders. These new ones can interface directly with Drachnid biotechnology. Their ships are partially organic, remember. These nanites can shut down entire systems without destroying them. The demonstration was impressive. A captured Drachnid fighter, fully powered up, sat in the test chamber. When the new nanites were released, they infiltrated the ship's systems through microscopic gaps. Within minutes, the fighter's organic components began shutting down, its lights flickering out one by one. "Incredible," breathed Admiral Han, who had come to witness the test. "Their entire fleet is vulnerable to this. Every ship, every weapon, every piece of technology they have that uses organic components," Choi confirmed. "And the best part, the nanites are too small for their sensors to detect. They won't even know they're under attack until it's too late." The implications were staggering. The Drachnids had always relied on their biological advantages, their natural weapons, their organic technology, their evolutionary adaptations. But now those very advantages had become vulnerabilities. "Begin mass production immediately," ordered Admiral Han. "I want every ship in the fleet equipped with nanite deployment systems within the month." As the Admiral left to make preparations, Choi returned to his workstation. On his screen, dozens of new projects were already in development. Quantum torpedoes, phase shift drives, artificial intelligence combat systems. Each one represented another step in humanity's technological evolution. The Drachnids had spent millions of years evolving into perfect predators. But in just a few years, humanity had proven that technology and innovation could overcome any natural advantage. The hunters were about to learn that in the age of advanced technology, biological evolution was no longer enough. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council Chamber sparkled under the light of 3 suns. Built on a neutral space station at the intersection of multiple species territories, It represented something entirely new in the galaxy's history, a place where predator and prey sat as equals. Ambassador Kang stood at the central podium, facing representatives from over 30 species, including the drachnids. The massive predators sat uncomfortably in specially designed chairs, their once proud postures now subdued. Their defeat had come not through destruction, but through something they found far more terrifying: irrelevance. 2 years ago, Kang began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's perfect acoustics. The Drachnid Empire believed they were launching another routine conquest. Today, we gather to formalize a new order, one based not on strength or fear, but on cooperation and mutual respect. The Drachnid representative, smaller than most of his kind, shifted uneasily. His species had spent generations ruling through force and terror. Now they faced a choice: adapt or face complete isolation in a galaxy that had learned to stand against them. The age of the solitary hunter is over, Kang continued, activating the chamber's holographic displays. Images appeared showing joint scientific projects, mixed species crews working together, shared technological developments. We've proven that cooperation and innovation are the true paths to survival and progress. In the audience, various species that had once lived in terror of the drachnids now sat proudly. The Viridians, Kiris, and Myrthans, all former prey species, had contributed crucial technologies and knowledge to the Alliance's victory. Our victory was not achieved through superior firepower alone, Kang explained, her gaze meeting each delegate in turn. It was won through the sharing of knowledge, the combination of different perspectives, and the strength that comes from standing together. The peace treaty being proposed was unprecedented. Instead of demanding reparations or territory from the defeated drachnids, it offered them membership in the new Galactic Council, if they were willing to change. For the first time, Kang noted, your species faces a choice: continue to cling to the old ways of the solitary hunter, or join us in building something greater than any one species could achieve alone. The Drachnid representative rose slowly. The chamber fell silent, waiting. Their response would determine the future of galactic civilization. We, the massive aliens, seemed to struggle with the words. We request the Council's guidance in learning these new ways. A murmur ran through the chamber. No one had ever heard a Drachnid request guidance before. Their pride had always prevented such admissions of weakness. Already you begin to understand, Kang said warmly. Asking for help is not weakness, it is wisdom. Over the next few hours, the details of the new galactic order were formalized. Every species, regardless of size or strength, would have an equal voice in the council. Technology and resources would be shared for the benefit of all. Military forces would be combined into a joint defensive fleet. For the drachnids, the transition would be difficult. Their entire society needed to change, to learn concepts like cooperation and compromise that went against their predatory instincts. But they had seen the alternative: irrelevance in a galaxy that had evolved beyond them. We offer you what you never offered others, Kang concluded, a chance to grow, to change, to become part of something greater than yourselves. As the session ended and the delegates began to mingle, former predators and prey talking together about future possibilities, Kang stood at her podium, reflecting on humanity's journey. They had come to the stars prepared for war, but had achieved something far greater: peace through understanding. The galaxy had learned what humanity had known since their earliest days. True strength comes not from being the biggest predator, but from working together to overcome any challenge. It was a lesson written in human DNA. From the first tribes hunting together on ancient savannas to the spacefaring civilization they have become. The age of the solitary hunter was over. The age of cooperation had begun.